Hello, girl. I've been thinking, and I've got a lot of requests from some of you to make an episode about how to accept an ending you didn't choose. Either that being a breakup, ghosting, or abandonment. And of course, I decided to do that. And girl, I've been thinking, you're not stuck because it ended. You're stuck because you keep reopening it. And I know that's hard to hear because part of you still hopes that if you just think about it one more time, check like one more message or replay one more conversation, something will finally make sense. But the truth is that it won't. And today, I want to walk you through what it actually takes to accept an ending which you didn't choose, not just emotionally, but practically as well. And I'm going to use some practical examples, which I'm actually using with some of my clients through my coaching sessions, and also things that worked for me. Because, I'm pretty sure some of the examples are going to work for you as well. And in the end of this episode, I'm going to tell you a little story. So, in case you're going through something very difficult right now and you feel like it's the end of the world, you're going to understand in the end of the episode that no experience is unique. And we are all going through something like this at some point. Of course, everything has a different level of intensity, but that's not the point. So, therefore, I'm going to go straight to the point. Number one, I want you to stop checking, like, stop reopening. Every time you check their socials, every time you reread old messages, you're not actually giving yourself the chance to be processing the ending. But instead, you're reattaching yourself to something that's already over. You're keeping the connection alive by yourself. And that personally never helped me get over someone or something or a breakup, especially. Now I'm going to give you something very practical. Make it harder to go back. Like, I mean it. Mute or block them. Yes, I know it's very hard, block them, blah, blah, blah. But really, block them. Stop pretending that you just have self control. We never do. Not blocking them means I'm still giving him access to see that in case he wants to text me or in case they want to reach out to me, they can. And if they were not able to give you some type of closure when the thing ended, they will certainly not do it 2 or 3 months later. Trust me. You can also try to delete or archive conversations. Remove all the shortcuts that you might have, like unfollow, log out of accounts that you guys used to have together. Create some friction. Because if it's easy to access, you will relapse. You will relapse. And I'm telling you this because I relapsed many times in my life. And the truth is, that only made me feel worse. And it didn't really change nothing. Now, number two, and I want you to really listen to this one, because closure isn't something that they give you. You're waiting for one more conversation, one more explanation, one more moment where it finally makes sense. But closure isn't something that they give you. It's something that you create the moment you stop going back to them. The moment you stop giving so much access to yourself and you bring your attention back to yourself. I know it sounds more easier said than done, but I'm going to give you something practical to do this. If you have a piece of paper around you or your notes app open, you should write this down. And I love to call this writing my own closure because, like I said, you give yourself closure, not them. So now, if you got a pen, write these 3 questions down. And when you have time, after listening to this episode, try to answer to these questions. I swear to God, pinky promise, this is really going to help you. First question, what did their actions showed me? What did their actions showed me? Question number 2, what did I ignore? What did you ignore? Question number 3, what do I actually need in a relationship? Like, ask yourself, what do you actually need in a relationship? And after you've wrote all of these things and you actually had time to reply to them, basically to yourself, try to decide if it really doesn't fit the answers to your questions, try to decide that you will not go back to what cannot meet you. Because frankly, this was a huge closure for me. Like, why would I go back to something that cannot meet me, where I actually want to experience this, you know? Okay, let's go to number 3. And this one is one of my favorite ones. And I'm gonna tell you very gently to stop looking for closure in someone who avoided it. If they avoided honesty or real conversations or accountability, why are you expecting clarity now? Why? A final conversation won't give you peace. It will most likely confuse you more. Trust me, I had a message coming in 3 months after a breakup, and it didn't give me closure at all. It confused me more because think about it. If your partner used to lack accountability and were avoiding being honest or having real conversations, what makes you believe that now it will be something different? Probably it would be something with more excuses, obviously, since they don't have any accountability over their actions. They're going to try to make themselves seem like they were not a problem. And this is not how you get closure. Pinpointing fingers to who was the problem, it's not how you're going to get closure. So again, a final conversation won't give you that peace. It will just confuse you even more because you're asking someone who couldn't show up then to suddenly show up now. And that ain't gonna happen, girl. Ain't gonna happen. So a great practical thing that you could do. So instead of asking, why did they do this? Ask yourself, what does this behavior say about what they're capable of? Mm-hmm. Like, what does this behavior say about what they're capable of? Really, that question will give you more clarity than any conversation with them ever could. Because, like I said, no matter what they have to say, it's never gonna go back to what you actually need. You're not looking about the amount of excuses they're capable of making about why they couldn't meet you there. You actually wanna look at the behavior, which will say what they're actually capable of doing for you, to keep you, to be with you in a relationship, to build something with you. Now, believe those patterns, girl. Believe those patterns and not the promises. Because everyone can promise you things. Maybe you're still holding on to what they said, but what did they do? Like, what did they do? Because people don't reveal themselves through words. They do reveal themselves through patterns, through proof of their actions. So I'm going to give you the best practical tool for this. And again, it would mean, of course, a list. Get annoyed. I don't care. Just write it down. It's a tiny list of patterns. So for example, write their list of patterns. I don't know what it was in your case, but in my experience, it was inconsistency, avoidance, mixed signals, of course, and emotional absence. Then just try to read it back without excuses. Not excuses that sound like, oh, we're all going through something. They were just going through something. No, don't do that. Just go back to it and be like, this is what I experienced. Reality. I'm talking about reality, not potential. The reality is what you need to accept. Then let's move to number 5. Girl, be honest with yourself. Do you miss them or do you miss the version of them you created in your mind? Because those are not the same thing. One is very real for sure, but the other one is just attachment to potential. And I'm not being preachy over here. I'm telling you this because it's exactly what I did. So yeah, like if you stick to the end, you will understand. So the best practical advice for this would be to split it like clearly. You know, what they actually gave you versus what you hoped they could become. And if you're grieving the second one more, like what they could have become, then you're not even trying to let go of them here. You're trying to let go of an illusion, of a beautiful illusion that would have never happened. And that's why it feels so hard, if that's the case, of course. Now, number 6, accept the decision that they've made. They made a decision, you know, without considering your feelings. If, let's say, the case is like ghosting or breaking up without taking into consideration what you had to say about it. And I know that hurts, but it also tells you everything. I also had to include in case of abandonment, because this one was a really big one for me. But like I said, this is also what tells you everything. Because someone who values you doesn't just disappear or avoid or dismiss you. Now, I want you to think practical here in what I'm going to say. Every time your mind says, but maybe, try to really replace it with, they already showed me what they're willing to give. Don't overthink this. Don't try rewriting the story. Just try to sit with the truth, with what they've already showed you that they're willing to give you. Because trust me, you're never going to get more than that, but of the proof of what they've already gave you. Now, number 7, let yourself feel it. I mean it, let yourself feel it. And I'm not talking just about losing them, but losing what you thought it could be. Because that is the real grief. And you can't skip this part. Like, you cannot skip this part. Like, to be frankly honest, in my past breakups, this was the biggest one for me. I was always just being stuck there onto thinking what it could have been, just because I didn't have the chance to actually see. And when I finally accepted that I have to go through that grief, it turned out to be better than to just avoid thinking about it. Like I said, you can't skip this part. If you avoid this feeling, you stay stuck in this loop longer and longer and longer and longer. So, my practical advice here for you would be to try to create a space to feel, but like on purpose. I'm not talking about you journaling about it. I want you to sit with it for like 10 minutes every day until it goes away with no distractions, and just let the emotions move through you. You don't need to live in the pain, but you do need to face it. And if you don't allow yourself to feel how you really feel for at least 10 minutes without interruptions, distractions, or anything like that, you're never really going to be able to move on or to give yourself any type of closure. Unprocessed feelings become demons later on. They can start becoming that anxious voice at the back of your head that's keep haunting you every day and in everything that you do. So let's go to number 8. Stop making them the damn center. They're not the center. And I get it, like maybe right now your attention is still on them. And that's kind of normal to try to see what they're doing, what they're thinking, if they regret. But the truth is that keeps you stuck. So is it normal? Yes, but you have to move out of it. Your healing starts when your attention comes back to you and only to you. So here I would advise you to do this practical thing, which is to interrupt the loop. Every time you kind of start thinking of them, ask yourself something like, what do I need right now? Where am I abandoning myself? Then act on it immediately. If what you actually need is a damn distraction, then get that damn distraction. Get dressed up really well, put on a very pretty makeup for yourself, do things that make you feel better, and take yourself on a damn date. Go have a lunch alone. Go to a movie by yourself. Go buy a nice freaking bag, girl. Go buy a nice freaking bag, girl, if that's what you need. I mean, I know that's what you need. That's what we all need, okay? And on number 9, which is the last one, and the one that really freaking makes the difference. Start choosing yourself. Like, really, start choosing yourself, even if it feels unnatural. At first, it will feel wrong. It will absolutely feel wrong because you're used to choosing them, prioritizing them, or thinking about them. So then, of course, choosing yourself will feel very uncomfortable and weird, but just do it anyways. And the best practical way to start doing that is to start small, actually, to start small. Like say no without over explaining yourself to someone, or do something just for you. Maybe you want to redecorate your room, or like watch a movie just by yourself instead of watching it with your girlfriends. Like do something just for you and stop chasing. Stop proving. Stop posting on your story just for them to see. Stop blocking everyone from your story and just leave him there so he can see. This is not choosing yourself. This is leaving a tiny bite there to see if the fact that you're still so much in there and so in your head and so attached, it's still valid. Because like if they're watching my story, if they are keep interested into what I'm doing, then it makes sense that I feel like this. Truth is, it doesn't. It doesn't. You're keeping yourself stuck there. And this is not what you really want to do. But then again, maybe that is what you want to do. But in that case, don't play like you're the victim, because you're not. You're literally creating your own suffering. And I know it's not something very soft to say, but it's true. And someone has to say that to you. And if that person is me and you're going to hate me, well, later when you're going to understand, you're going to love me again. So now let me tell you the little story, okay, about my last breakup. And why I want to share this with you is because I've actually been through all of these steps to be able to get my own closure from it. And when you will understand how it actually ended, you will see that that closure that I got was actually not something easy to achieve. And do I say this because I'm proud of myself? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm absolutely fucking proud of myself. So that relationship ended in a bad way, meaning it wasn't just a normal breakup or just normal ghosting or just abandonment. It was all three combined. Like the guy didn't even bother to tell me that he doesn't want a relationship with me. He dropped all my things in front of my door without staying there to have a conversation with me. He just ringed the bell and disappeared. Okay, very dramatic, I know. So, from all the things that I numbered here, he was literally kind of checking all of those boxes. No accountability, avoidant, no such thing as real conversations, just the really good thing. But anyways, I'm not making this about him. Truth is, it was a relationship with a dynamic that was very toxic for me. The guy was an absolute narcissist. But the truth is, I've seen all of those things coming. Like I knew what he was. So when it actually ended, was I super hurt? Yes. Was I surprised? No. Maybe a little bit. I mean, dropping my stuff in front of my door was a bit surprising. Like, I think that was the biggest surprise of my life. Not in a good way, though. But, anyways. So, what happened was, of course, I was kind of devastated, very confused. I never got closure, nothing. He was not even replying or answering his phone. So, and the truth is, I did nothing wrong, okay? I am literally not acting as a victim. I did nothing wrong, but of the fact of trying to fix the things that were not working between us and calling him out on his bullshit and on the things that he was not meeting me at for our relationship to work. So what I did was I got my stuff back inside. I cried on the floor for 2 hours, but like cried. I bawled my eyes out, mostly because I was just so mad that he felt like I didn't even deserve to get that closure, like that's kind of heartbreaking. Let's be fair. But what I got, and I still am very surprised that I had, I don't know, the power to do. Literally, I would call this power a power move. It's, I got up from the floor. I did a very beautiful makeup. I got dressed up in the clothes that I had in my wardrobe and I've never wore before. So they were like new with tags. I felt good. I needed to feel good because let's face it, in that moment, we need to feel good. And I did one thing that I was kind of afraid of doing before in my life. I took myself out for lunch instead of trying harder to reach out to them or send a message or check what they're doing or with who they are or, and it felt kind of rather weird because I remember I was sitting at this table and around me it was full of couples. And I was just sitting alone at the table looking smoking hot. And probably I had like a beach resting face because, of course, you cannot fully hide. You cannot fully hide. But then I had this tiny realization which made me actually enjoy that lunch, even in the day of the breakup. And that realization was that I was enjoying having lunch alone much more than I ever enjoyed having lunch with him in the last part of our relationship. And then, I was enjoying, I was sitting with it and I was like, wait a second. Like, if I feel better by myself, why would I try to fight being in a relationship with someone that didn't even so much as bothered of giving me an explanation? And I knew in that moment that I'm never going to get closure from that guy. So I made it like a summer mission onto me fully getting back on my shit and in the best shit that I ever been on. This sounds so weird, but it's very true. So then I started going very consistently to the gym. I was investing very much energy and attention into what I was eating, the people I was surrounding myself with. I was only doing what was good for me. And every time when I was doing any of those tiny things, I would remember that in that relationship, I had to kind of abandon myself many times and not actually do those things that I really wanted to do. And the fact that I was feeling so much better alone than in a relationship and less alone when I was single and alone than I was feeling in that relationship, things started getting much more easier. And I somehow turned like all of that pain into motivation. I never apologized ever again for what I actually was. Of course, because that relationship made me really not be myself. Because I was so hard trying to fit or like somehow make it work that I was downplaying my own needs, which is also why the relationship ended. And guess what? 2 months after, of course, he came back texting me and stuff like that. But I didn't fit into it because, like I mentioned in this episode earlier on, if they were not capable of giving you closure back then when it ended, then for sure they're not going to try to give you closure now. Maybe they just finally realize that they cannot find someone better than you, or maybe they just cannot find someone that would be willing to suck it up and lower their standards just because they love them. And that was the exact case for that scenario as well. So did all of these advices that I gave you here helped? Absolutely. I did stop checking his socials. I blocked him. I deleted his number. So, it was a little bit surprising when I got a message from no caller ID. But I knew, immediately I knew, of course. And I did knew that closure isn't something that he was going to give me. And I started creating that for myself when I put the attention back on me. I did stop waiting closure from him because, of course, he avoided honesty. And all of those real conversations were like triggering him. And he never had accountability. So I did stop looking for closure in him, which frankly, I didn't get it from him. I got it from myself. That's why I remember I was so unmoved when he reached out to me. I didn't even wanted to read his message. I did believe what he showed me through those patterns and not through the excuses that he was making in those late messages 2 months later, because they were just empty promises. And probably the guy was just missing how convenient I was for him. I was honest with myself, meaning I knew that I loved more the potential that he could have been than what he actually was. And I accepted that he made a decision without considering how I felt from that ending or the consequences that it had on my mental health and so on. So I just accepted it. And that proved me more than anything good that he ever did, to be honest, because who does that? And then I let myself feel it, not just, losing them, but also losing what it could have been. And I realized that it could have been pretty much an even bigger fiasco than it actually was, which gave me a lot of peace, obviously. And of course, when I stopped making him the center, everything came back to myself. And I was able to, I swear, I became an even better version of myself that I ever been before that. Not just before that relationship, before ever in my life. And that realization that when you actually move different, your life really starts being so then different hit me. And I know it might sound generic, but if you do freaking want something different in your life, you have to move different. Otherwise, you're going to get the same thing, maybe a different guy in a new relationship, but that guy not that different. The relationship still in the same type of dynamic. So, and I'm not even talking about relationships here. The quality of your life starts changing when you're choosing yourself, like when you're directing all of that attention to yourself. Because now imagine you're not trying to win someone over, you're trying to win yourself over. And that's a freaking game changer, I swear. And yeah, I started choosing myself in small ways, even when it felt unnatural, even when it felt uncomfortable. And I didn't try to replace him or the connection with anything because if you listen to the previous episodes, monkey bearing, it's actually avoidance dressed up as moving on. It's not moving on. If you need someone else in your life immediately after you just got abandoned or ghosted or you just been through a breakup, you are absolutely not healing. So before we're closing this episode, I just want to say you don't need more answers. You need to stop reopening that wound because it did not end it for the reason that you were not enough. It ended because it was not aligned. It was not supposed to be. And every time you choose yourself, instead of going back, you move forward. And maybe you are not going to be perfect at doing it because we're never perfect at doing it. But when you actually do it, you become powerful and you start feeling more powerful every single day. And if that's not motivation enough, I don't know what else is. Like, I really don't know. If you really struggle and you don't know how to start moving differently in your life, you can always reach out for help. And if you'd be interested about a coaching session with me, I still have 3 spots open only for the next 2 months, and they're gonna fill up pretty quickly. So if you feel like you really need help, you should try to reach out to me soon. So I guess this concludes today's episode. Girl, if you've been thinking, I think this episode might wake up a little something in you. And if you think this episode could help someone that you know, don't hesitate to share it. Then I guess I'll see you next week.